in last video we talk about the type defs, so if you can see, but right now we are just one step ahead to start our Apollo server very quick, and that is due to the resolvers. So before we jump into the resolvers, uh, there's a there's a few things which I want to talk about the schema very quick. So books has individual books. Each individual books has authors, and each authors like have the reviews. But there's a change in here. It's actually each review have the authors, and each review is also associated with the type of book which they have. Okay, so this is the actual relationship. So our review will have all the list of authors and all the list of books to which this review is basically assigned. So this is that will be the actual relationship. So I was just looking for this type of lorem data to be provided somewhere. So I went up and I got a similar example. So instead of books, we have reviews. So I got this here. Now what I do is, now let's copy this whole data, and now what we do is let's paste it in our code. So in your scenario, if you are currently using MySQL data, you can use it, or any database sources, instead of writing hard coding it. But yeah, so let's go back and review this. So what we are doing is, we have reviews, we are defining the author ID for which this review is, and we're also defining the game ID for which this game is. So similarly to this, we are we are actually also defining the authors, whether these authors are verified or not, and whether the games, like what the games are and what the title name and platforms are. So this is a very good example. Thanks to thanks to I'm Sean JP for this. Yeah. So what we do now is, let's go back to our code here. Now here is, let's start our server. But as I said, before we start our server, we need resolvers, right? So I think now it's the correct time to get started with resolver. So to first define a resolver, you have to actually define the resolvers. So you have to write resolvers, and you have to define the resolver. Now to start the resolver, you need two things. So first is the schema. Like as I said, if you remember, the query is very important. So here you have to write the query and make sure it matches with the this one. So whatever we are going to write, it should match with this the query here. So query, and then you define the uh, resolvers. Okay, so I think I forgot to define resolvers. So resolvers are basically the ones. So in the type def, we basically define the schema, but in resolvers we need to define the data itself, and with this data the Apollo server will automatically filter out the data for us. So we are just defining the data, and it will automatically filter the data based upon what field we need. So but here we have to first install the import the db itself. So once we have imported the DB, now let's try to return the db.games. Similarly, let's do for reviews. We have defined the author reviews. Now what we do is, now let's import this into the resolvers. All right. So once we have imported this, now let's try to run this. So if you haven't installed Nodemon, please install it. So Nodemon basically reruns the file whenever there's a change detected. So yeah, so I've installed Nodemon here, and let's see. As you can see, the server is ready. Now one thing I want to tell you is, what this will actually do is, it will return the Apollo server itself at the local. So now if we try to go, this is the Apollo server at locally. And one more thing, if you want to do it on the go, that is, Apollo server automatically provides you a local server, a sandbox version of it here, and it will automatically connect to your local, and it will start pulling. But in this example, we will get started with the local server itself. Now here are the few things which I want to talk about. Okay, so first, what they give is the schema itself. So it defines the schema, and if you want to see the individual schema, it will automatically, if you go there, it will automatically give you the schema for all of them. Okay, So these were the object types, and the scalars, it tells what scalars are referenced. So uh, currently total there are five types of schema scalar types are available, but we have currently used only four here in this example. In So the example query can be anything of, or it can, you can rename it to games query, in short, games query. And the games, let's say I cut this, you want to get the games with the id. Okay, and now if you try to run it, it will give you the id of all the games which we have in the database. So I can just show you, we have the games and id 1 2 3 4 5, we have it here. So similarly, if you want to go with the other things, you want other data, just press here and just do a control space on Mac, or I don't know about Windows, but yeah, it will automatically give you the intelligence. And if you want the platform also to be there, just click here. It will automatically have the platform with included with it. Similarly, if you want to get the reviews and ID or specific fields from reviews and ID, you can just do this. Now, if you see the data, we have got the reviews, and the reviews we have got the IDs, and in the authors we have got the author IDs. So yeah, this was about the game query. So as you can see, if I do only authors here and I want to check who all are verified, so it automatically gives me the ID and verified. So if you remember our last example, the one which I told you, what was the benefit of it? So this was actually mentioned. So avoid multiple round of API calls. If we have all the APIs allocated, we don't have to, and also getting too much data than we need. API, single API, you get all the things filtered by Apollo server itself. So yeah, that's it. But now in next coming up question will be like, how can I pass variables to this? So that we will be explaining in the next video. See you there.